of the most powerful military in Africa today, 2021. Global Firepower is an organization that is widely known for having a fairly accurate understanding of the militaries in the world. It uses its own calculation system based on the following parameters. Manpower. Total populations, available manpower. Manpower fit for service. Manpower reaching military age annually, active military manpower, and active reserve military manpower. Air power. Total aircraft strength. Fighters and interceptors, attack aircraft, transports, trainers, total helicopters, attack helicopters, and serviceable airports. Army strength. Combat tanks, armored fighting vehicles, self-propelled artillery, towed artillery, and rocket projectors. Naval power. Total naval strength aircraft carriers, frigates, destroyers, corvettes, submarines, patrol craft, and mine warfare. Financial resources. Annual defense budgets, external debt, reserves of foreign exchange and gold, and purchasing power parity. Logistical resources. Labor force strength, merchant marine strength, major ports and terminals, roadway coverage, and railway coverage. Natural resources. Oil production, oil consumption, and proven oil reserves. Geography. Square land areas, coastline, shared borders, and waterway coverage. The following guide will help you understand who the 10 most powerful militaries in Africa are and why. The Sudan is ranked 76 out of the 138 countries surveyed. The Sudanese armed forces are on this list because they are a well-organized and experienced military force. The military has several units: land, naval, and air. The Popular Defense Force is the military wing of the National Islamic Front, and it receives most of its military equipment from the Chinese and the Russians. Some of their equipment includes 46 fighter aircraft, 38 attack aircraft, 43 attack helicopters, 690 combat tanks, 400 armored fighting vehicles, and 12 naval patrol craft. The Sudan spends $2.47 billion on defense. Tunisia is ranked 73 of 138 out of the countries considered for the annual GFP review. Tunisia had armed forces with more than 150,000 active duty personnel, of which 80,000 were conscripts. Paramilitary forces consisted of a 12,000-member National Guard. The country has 156 fighter aircraft, 101 attack helicopters, 170 combat tanks, 1,200 armored fighting vehicles, 162 towed artillery. Tunisia also spent a massive $810 million on their defense budget. Libya is ranked 80 out of the 138 countries that were surveyed. Despite having a relatively small number of active troops, the Libyan military makes up for this by having a large amount of equipment. Regardless of the current troubles faced by the country, it still has 17 fighter aircraft, 7 attack helicopters, 250 combat tanks, 450 armored fighting vehicles, and 55 rocket projectors. The Libyans also spend a massive $3 billion on their defense budget. Angola is ranked 56 out of the 138 countries that were surveyed. The Angolan armed forces have been fortunate enough to be part of a large development plan etched out by the current political forces in power. The country's natural resources, such as oil and diamonds, have started to enrich the country and enabled it to rise in the ranks of Africa's most powerful militaries. The equipment it uses is as follows: 72 fighter aircraft, 18 attack aircraft, 15 attack helicopters, 379 combat tanks, 115 rocket projectors, 595 armored fighting vehicles, 357 towed artillery, 37 naval patrol craft. The astounding budget for defense by Angola is $7 billion. Ethiopia is ranked 60 out of the 138 countries that have surveyed. Along with its impressive military equipment, it also has one of the largest populations on the continent, supplying it with a massive force needed. Unfortunately, Ethiopia has dropped in its rankings from previous years. It used to be a constant at second and third places, but has now dropped to its current 7th. Some of the equipment to be used by this massive force is as follows: 24 fighter aircraft, 8 attack helicopters, 400 combat tanks, 114 armored fighting vehicles, 183 rocket projectors, 67 self-propelled artillery, 650 towed artillery. The EDF, or Ethiopian Defense Forces, budget is $350 million. Morocco is ranked 57 out of the 138 countries that were analyzed. The Royal Moroccan Armed Forces are heavily reliant on foreign military supplies. They are also involved in various peacekeeping missions in dangerous areas. The military equipment it uses is as follows: 46 fighter aircraft, 1,443 combat tanks, 2,901 armored fighting vehicles, 144 rocket projectors, 3 naval frigates, 105 naval patrol crafts. Morocco spends an astounding $10 billion on its defense budget. Nigeria is ranked 42 out of the 138 countries analyzed. The country's Navy, Army, and Air Force is supplied by a huge population, while its equipment is heavily supplied by its oil resources. In war, resource is the key, and Nigeria is not lacking. Some of the equipment they utilize is as follows: 8 fighter aircraft, 13 attack aircraft, 15 attack helicopters, 253 combat tanks, 36 rocket projectors, 1,789 armored fighting vehicles, 339 towed artillery, 100 naval patrol crafts. The huge budget set aside for the defense of Nigeria is $2.155 billion. South Africa is ranked 29 out of the 138 countries surveyed. This country's military can be compared with other developed European nations. Although their military frontline personnel are less than 100,000, their equipment is world-class of the latest technology. South Africa is also the only African country that attempted to gain nuclear technology. Trained by the Israeli and the British, South African soldiers are definitely to be feared. Some of their equipment encompasses the following: 17 fighter aircraft, 12 attack helicopters, 195 combat tanks, 50 rocket projectors, 2,000 fighting armored vehicles, 43 self-propelled artillery, 72 towed artillery, 4 naval frigates, 3 submarines, 31 naval patrol crafts. The Republic of South Africa allocates an incredible $4.278 billion on its defense spending. Algeria is ranked 28 out of the 138 countries surveyed. Algeria is arguably Africa's top spender on defense. The country's frontline personnel number over 127,000 troops, and it is made up of a modern army funded largely by its oil resources. Algeria has an abundance of equipment, as the following numbers can easily illustrate why the country is a military powerhouse: 103 fighter aircraft, 22 attack aircraft, 45 attack helicopters, 880 combat tanks, 316 rocket projectors, 7,361 fighting armored vehicles, 320 self-propelled artillery, 240 towed artillery, 5 naval frigates, 6 submarines, 25 naval patrol crafts. The generous budget set aside for the defense of Algeria is $13 billion. Egypt is ranked 9th out of the 138 countries surveyed. This country has been the military powerhouse of Africa for a long time and continues to be so. It was one of America's main military aid recipients for countless years. Many speculated that the military would weaken due to the political instability, but it seems to have gotten even more powerful. Its huge 500,000 active frontline personnel are ahead of all its African counterparts. Egypt is also the only country in Africa to have not one, but 2 aircraft carriers. The following are some of its equipment: 215 fighter aircraft, 88 attack aircraft, 81 attack helicopters, 4,295 combat tanks, 1,084 rocket projectors, 11,700 armored fighting vehicles, 1,139 self-propelled artillery, 2,189 towed artillery, 2 aircraft carriers, 7 naval frigates, 8 submarines, 45 naval patrol craft. The Egyptian government allocates $11.2 billion for its defense spending. 19 African countries are not included in this research. Thank you for watching.